Good morning. I'm Hoyt Tidwell, and I'm going to start the process and show you how to make chicken and dumplings. The beginning, you got your cook your chicken, end up with a gallon and 1 pint of broth, chicken broth. Then you add 10 bouillon cubes, chicken bouillon cubes, to your broth, 10 of them. Then I've got all the other stuff prepared here to go in the dumplings. First of all, this is an old recipe from the great-grandmother. First of all, you need to have your hands clean. A cup of water, one egg, one-quarter cup of Crisco shortening, 1/4 cup.
How much flour do you use?
You start out with 3 cups of flour, that's self-rising flour, with your flour setting over here on the side, because you're going to have more flour. You got to have some white pepper, have it setting over when you start cooking, putting your dumplings in. So we're going to start mixing the dumplings. You got to put your hand in it and just mix it up real good. Just continue to mix it, mixing your flour, water, and Crisco.
An egg.
And what?
Your egg.
Yes, and my egg. Yes. You can see that, it's still pretty thin. Like I say, you start out with 3 cups of flour, and then you add more flour to get it thicker. Well, I've made a mess, but that happens. You're here where you can make a mess, but beginning to thicken up. At this point, you can put a little flour on here and clean your hand up. Get the dough off your hand, most of it, and then you continue your process with mixing. Got to be pretty thick, pretty stiff. Adding a little more flour. The lady that showed me how to make these several years ago was a friend of ours actually she was a girlfriend of my uncle's and later in life, and she was a Methodist person in faith, and I went and she showed me how to make them one day, and I told her I'd she told me, and when I got, you know, I had to come and make them for the women's club at the Methodist church when I got, that was my test. So after I got to where I could make them real good, I went and was before the Methodist church and went up in women's club and made them dumplings, and I guess I passed the test. She would cut them with a knife, something like this. But I graduated to a pizza cutter, so you can see which one you think will be the best. You divide these dumplings into 4 equal parts. Put some flour on your pastry sheet. Get you one ready to roll out over here, and the other 3 are in the bowl. Then you begin to roll out your dumplings. Keeping in mind you've got your broth over there waiting for you if it's boiling. It's got to be to a rolling boil. I got a pastry roller. I've got a rolling pin you can see here, but you can either use whichever one you prefer. And you got to roll these out till you can see the pastry sheet through the dough. And I guess this is the hardest part to it, is getting the dough rolled out. You know, everybody now that has eaten my dumplings, they want me to make dumplings. I've made them for the bank, I've made them for furniture stores, I've made them for weddings, I've made them for dinners at church. Now this is thin enough to...
Funerals.
Huh?
Funerals.
Funerals, yes. I've made them for funerals, families, and I try to cut these about 3/4 inches wide. Anyway, that and fold it back over, but I ain't gonna worry about it. You go one way, then you've got to go the other way. Like I say, 3/4 inch wide and real thin. By the time you get these at this point, your dough, your broth should be boiling to a rolling boil. And I'll check it as soon as I get these cut. And if they're ready to go in, I'll put a few of them in the broth. So I'll just get them stacked up here, ready to go, and I'll go check my broth and see if it's ready. And yes, it's ready. It's rolling. It's a rolling boil. So at this point, you put about half of the dough in the rolling boil, and at this point I'm gonna add a little white pepper. You know, if you like a lot, just put you a lot, but The key to it, cooking these dumplings, is she says never use a spoon. So you got to, you know, be careful and shake them. So while them are coming to a rolling ball again, I'm gonna go back over here and get another dumpling, one of my doughs rolled out for more, and I keep eye on that. When it comes to a rolling ball, I'll add more dumplings. So I'm starting another dough ball to roll it out thin. You may get aggravated at this dough because it's you don't want it to creep back on you, but if you just keep rolling, it'll get bigger. All right, my dough, my broth is boiling again. I'm gonna add some more dumplings to the broth. I'm gonna give them a little shake and go back and continue my flattening my dough. Well, I can see through it here, so I'm getting it pretty close to ready. It's I can see through it. So keep an eye on my broth and cut my dough 3/4 inches, somewhere close. Not precise, nothing's, you know. The ingredients is the main thing in this making these dumplings. Sometime I'll, if my broth is not boiling, I'll have these made up ahead of time. Put them on a paper plate. All right, my broth is ready for some more dumplings. So you add them, and you give them a little shake, and go back to your dough process. So you get your pastry sheet cleared off with the dumplings that are ready to go in the broth, and you start another dough ball. I'd mentioned earlier that I'd already had my chicken cooked. It's better to cook chicken with the skin on it, the better the broth is. I used, in this process, I used 3 chicken breasts with skin, 2 legs, 2 wings, and 2 thighs. So it's got some dark meat and white meat. Some people don't like dark meat, so you can use all white meat. I think my broth's boiling again, so I'm gonna put a few more dumplings in there and give them another little shake. and go back to my flattening my dough. It's nothing really hard about this process, except it takes a little patience and a little time. I was telling you what chicken to put in it. Back when my mom was living, I loved her to be around. I'd cook a whole chicken. I'd get my mom to come up and pick the chicken off, and that was the best broth you could have, is a whole chicken with the skin on it. The richer the broth, the better the dumpling. So, enough said there. Three-quarter by three-quarter. And if you're in a hurry, you can go, you know, you may not get them as close as you would if you took your time. And usually I'm in a hurry, which we're videoing here today, and hopefully we get this video out to a lot of folks that will learn how to make dumplings. My broth's boiling again. So add some more dumplings. Give them a shake. Go back to your process over here. And I'm a little bit ahead of the boiling of the broth, so I like to be, you know, ahead. Had a little flour left in there. I'll put it on here just to let it work in this dough, and everything's going well so far. So we're getting closer to being finished. This is the hardest process here, this dough. So my broth boiling, I'll add a few more. Give them a shake. Then I'm gonna add a little bit more white pepper. You know, I used to use black pepper, but I got smarter. People see little black dots in it, and now they don't see no black dots in there. I use white pepper. So anyway, they thought it might have been some trash or something, and it's better that nobody sees anything in your dumplings. I'm beginning to see the pastry sheet through the dough. That indicates that I'm getting close to being thin enough. So I have my broth boiling again. I'll go add a few more dumplings. Give them a little shake. You notice we haven't used a spoon at all, or anything to stir those dumplings with. Well, that lady requested that no spoon or any kind of device be used to stir the dumplings with. You gotta shake them. I don't know if that's got a whole lot to do with it, but I followed her directions. And I haven't made a bad dumpling yet, so evidently there's something to it. The pan you use for the dumplings has got to be at least a 2-gallon or better pan. Like I said, you got to start out with 1 gallon and 1 pint of broth. That would be, you're in the neighborhood of being right on that gallon and a pint. Now, when you get these dumplings all in there and your chicken in there, if it's too dry, you can always add some more broth. Now, if you're gonna eat these within the first hour after you make them, you know, they're gonna be maybe a little soupy, but the longer they set, the drier they get. So, you know, here it is. It was 9:30 when I started this operation. Here it's 9:58, so I'm gonna be through by, you know, a little after 10 a.m. I'll get all these dumplings in here, and I'll cut the heat back somewhat to a lower setting on the simmer side. Let them simmer for a while. I'll put the lid back on them and let them simmer for 30 to 45 minutes. Then I'll add the chicken and let them, you know, at this point you can put a spoon in there or a wooden ladle. So I'm about to get all the dumplings in there, and we'll let them simmer for a while. You can see that the pot is, you know, within an inch of this this pan being full, and you know, I've got a lot of chicken, so this is going to be a full pot of chicken and dumplings. So it's very important that your pot is big enough to begin with. That's the last of the dumplings. Give them a shake. Put another little tad of white pepper. It's according to who you're making these dumplings for. Is you know, if you know they like white pepper, you know, you can add a little extra. They're still boiling. Give them another shake. Turn the heat down to, you know, under halfway. Turn it to 1 or 2. Put your lid on, and then come back over here, and you got a mess. You begin to, you know, you clean your mess up, and by the time you get your mess cleaned up, the dumplings are cooking while you're cleaning your mess up, and I think I told you, you know, in the beginning, you need to use Martha White self-rising flour. That's all I've ever used. I've never made a bad dumpling. So I recommend Martha White self-rising flour. Not saying that you can't use something different, but I'm just saying, you know, Martha White has never failed me. Get my mess cleaned up. Flour put up. Alright, my dumplings are, they still cooking over here. You know, at a low heat, they're still cooking. Now, you know, I told you earlier I had my chicken cooked and had my chicken picked off. So my chicken's in the refrigerator. I'll get my chicken out. I told you, you know, we need to let the dumplings cook, you know, somewhere around 20 minutes. So I've got my chicken, you know, this is a gallon bag. You can see I've got it 2/3 the way full of chicken. You know, everybody loves my chicken and dumplings because I'm not shy on the chicken in the dumplings. So, say 20 minutes later or so, you can add this chicken to your dumplings, stirring them with a wooden ladle, and then after you get them in there, let them simmer. Matter of fact, you can cut the heat off if you got some Towncraft cookware, and they'll cook, you know, and you know the lid will lock on there, and somebody will come over, and I get a kick out of it. They'll try to take the lid off of it, and I say, I've got them dumplings locked. You can't unlock that. I've got to unlock it. So nobody else can get the lid off. You know, usually I get a kick out of that, and that completes, you know, once you get your chicken in there and let them cook for a few minutes, that completes the dumpling recipe, and you'll have 12 to 16, 20 people that can enjoy that pot of dumplings. So I hope you enjoy making those dumplings. Thank you.